This podcast is a product of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals. Nothing in this podcast should be considered legal advice. To find a collaborative professional near you, visit www.collaborativepracticeflorida.com. I'm Catherine Eaton, a collaborative family law attorney and a member of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals. And today's topic, of course, is collaborative law. And not only am I'm the usual host, but today I'm going to be the guest. And my administrator, Eric Sachs, is going to be asking me some questions as to the collaborative law process. So Eric, what's a good question for me that maybe nobody else has answered yet, or I haven't asked yet? So what can I add?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's just a great opportunity for our audience to get to know you. You yourself, you're a collaborative attorney. And so why don't we kind of start with where we start with a lot of our guests and what got you into practicing collaborative law?
Well, actually, the way I was looking online with the ABA. They always send advertisements, American Bar Association, like a book on how to do depositions, a book on how to do this, a book to how to do that. And one of the books was on collaborative law. And I was like, that's interesting. And I probably had some coupon through the ABA. And I said, okay, I'll buy it. And I was fascinated by the approach because usually all the ABA books are, again, like how to take a deposition, how to litigate, how to draft forms. But this was a book on how to solve family law issues. And it was by Pauline Tesler. Did I say her name right? So, and at the time, I didn't know who she was, but she has been doing collaborative from the beginning. And my book is so old. She provided some forms. It has a disc, one of those square discs that in the jacket of the book. So you could use the forms. That's how long ago, I think it was like back in 2008 that I learned about collaborative. And I was like, that's the way to solve these issues. I had gone through a divorce back in 96. And even though we didn't litigate, I wasn't happy with how it went and how I was represented and how and the issues and how they were resolved. It was very cookie cutter. And there was just some basic things that if there had been a collaborative approach that could have been addressed and would have made it so much better. And one of the reasons I went into family law, nice way of saying divorce law, was because of my experience with my divorce. And I wanted to help people through that process and do it in a better, more effective way. So when I found Pauline's book, I had that aha moment. This is the way. And I would look for other professionals, and maybe it wasn't strictly a collaborative case because the people didn't sign the participation agreement. It was always hard getting the other side to sign, but we still used the collaborative process in that it was a team approach to resolve all the pending issues in the case and to pull in professionals in different areas if we needed more information, and to break the case down into parts instead of pushing it in a one-day mediation where everyone's exhausted in the middle of the night. And I mean, people who are going through a divorce and they go to mediation, they don't know that it could last all day into the night, past dinner. And then at the end, nobody's happy because everyone just wanted to get it done. And getting it done doesn't mean it's done right. It's just done. So that's how I started. It was through an advertisement with the ABA of Pauline Tesler's book. I bought the book and I said, this is the way. So, and then professionals, I don't know how everyone else started to learn about it, but I went down to South County in Boca and they had a cocktail party to introduce the collaborative process to all the attorneys who would listen or attend. I went to that. I was happy that finally there was some professionals in my area that knew about the collaborative process and wanted to spread the word. And then, you know, from there, I'm not in Boca, I'm in West Palm, a little bit north. And it was one of my very, very good friends, Tammy Algan Rhodes, who I share office space with. She had learned about collaborative and I don't remember how, but she's like, there's my dog. But she's like, Catherine, we've got to do this. I know you do it, but let's do it together. And so that's my story of how I started in collaborative.
So you talked about how like this advertisement appealed to you, and then you also talked about how mediation, when you get deep in mediation, you kind of just the lawyers want to get out of there, everyone on the team wants to get out of there. So what advice can you give to someone looking for a collaborative attorney or an attorney in general on how to pick that attorney and how much the attorney's mindset, whether you go collaborative or not, whether, you know, maybe you just choose a different out of court process. How does that mindset, you know, how do you go about picking that attorney and the mindset of the attorney really affect your process as a consumer?
That's a big question. So how do you pick an attorney? Well, the good news is, and some people, is that Florida is very Zoom friendly. Okay. So the first place to look is on the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals website, because it lists all of the professionals, whether it's neutral professionals, attorneys, and it lists all of them on the website. And I say good thing that Florida's Zoom friendly, because the nice thing is you can pick anyone. If you want to talk to an attorney, you want to talk to a mental health person, whoever you want to talk to, you can look at their website, you can get a feel for them, but you're not stuck with your people or professionals where you live in your zip code. And the FACP has a new practice group of professionals who are, what do you say, Eric, that the new group, the new practice group, it's not a designated area, it's an online virtual
Practicing
group.
virtually.
Yeah. Can you hear my dog barking?
No, it's okay.
Okay, then she's just Maggie. So
No problem.
podcasts are from home. Sometimes they're from the office. So today we're from home.
No problem.
So my advice is how to find an attorney.
That kind of aligns with your mindset as well, too. And like, how does the mindset of your attorney affect your process? You know, are you going to want to get someone that just kind of sees you as a no one wants to get someone that sees them as just a transactional, you know, process, but how can a consumer kind of weed through some of the different attorneys that are out there for them to try to find one that is going to work in an out of court process?
So how to find something? I find that people really do pick an attorney who has a similar style so they can communicate. So if somebody wants information and wants to be educated, they will gravitate to an attorney who will take the time to explain things to them. And if somebody is more abrupt or wants the bottom line of numbers and how it's going to be, what the results are going to be, they will gravitate toward an attorney who speaks that language. So how do you find someone? I mean, a lot of people won't like what I'm going to say. A lot of attorneys, I think it's important for a potential client and the professional to kind of interview each other and see if they mesh. And so most professionals will charge a consult fee to say, you know, I'll give you a consult, because once you have a consult with an attorney, they are X'd out. So if you have a consult with an attorney and you decide not to hire that attorney, and your spouse wants to hire that attorney, they can't. They're conflicted out. So a lot of people, a lot of attorneys will charge a consult fee, one, as an incentive, two, because it's their time, but three, they don't want to be conflicted out if the spouse wants to hire them and be conflicted out for free. But I do not charge for a consult. And a 30-minute consult, maybe it runs over depending, because I know that the client wants to get to know me, how experienced I am, what my view is on how to resolve their case. And I'm also interviewing them, because if they don't have that collaborative approach, they're not open. They've taken a stance and said, this is the law and this is the result I want. They're not going to like me, and I'm not going to get the results for them, and we'll be butting heads. So that's not going to work either. So you need an attorney who can advocate and speak for you in a similar style that you have. So I don't charge for consults, because I give potential clients an opportunity to get to know me, and vice versa. I want to know them to see if I feel comfortable representing them. So that's my process. But what do you look for in an attorney, and what are the questions you ask? Especially if you want ask them, have they been trained in collaborative? The beginning course is a 2-day course. Have they at least done that? Are they a member of the Academy, the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals? Are they a member of the IACP, the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals? How long have they known about collaborative and been practicing collaborative? How many cases have they been? You know, how Meg, what was it? Hey, quiet. Maggie?
Usually it's my dog that's going crazy, so I get how it goes.
Well, usually if I'm working or whatever, I have music or the TV on, so they don't hear anyone in the hallway. They do this all quiet. And I have two. So what do you ask? You ask how much experience they have, but then I would talk about what your case is. What's your concerns? Do you have children with special needs? Is one of the spouses an alcoholic? You know, is one of the spouses have drug issues? Are you in financial debt and you've lived above your means, and what you're fighting over is who's going to pay the debt? Or, you know, is Florida's changed their alimony statute? Is there an alimony claim? What are the issues? Are there parenting issues? Are there equitable distribution issues? I think it's important to share with the potential attorney you're hiring, this is what's going on in my life. We're getting a divorce. What's going to happen? What do you see as potential outcomes or options in my case? How would you approach it? You know, share what your fears are, share what your concerns are, so the attorney understands what's going on in your case, and the attorney can then reply back and say, oh, I've had experience with that, or this is the approach I would take. And in the professional team, I think this person would be a great neutral financial who could help figure out a plan, how to, divide your assets and liabilities, maybe you have some rental income, whatever the issues are, you want to get a mortgage, you want to refi, all the financial issues, will bring in the correct professional. We'll bring in the best neutral facilitator. If you've got parenting issues, or you just have issues communicating with your spouse, or there's addiction issues, we tell the attorney, so the attorney can have that mindset of what professional team could help resolve these issues. And how can these issues be resolved? Do a little option building with your with the potential client and the attorney, and see if that makes sense and that approach makes sense. And if you can, and if you, vibe with that attorney and say, aha, yeah, that person is thinking and understands my problems, that's a good attorney for you. But anyone who just talks about the process but doesn't get to know you, that's not my approach. I want to know the person asking for help. I want them to not know me and my personal story, but I want to understand them, their concerns, and I want to answer their questions and give them new information, not information that they can just get on the website. At the end, when I talk to a potential client, at the end, I always direct them to the FACP website, collaborativepracticeflorida.com, and say, you want to learn more about the collaborative process, you can look on my website, you can look on the FACP website, you can look on the IACP website, learn about the process, but you can do that on your own. That's your own homework. If you want to pick an attorney, talk to me, tell me about your case, and learn how I would approach your case, but I want to give you new information. I don't want to give you something that you can just read on the website about collaborative in general. I want to give you new information that is relevant to what you're going through, so I can help you, and then you can see, if that's a good match for you. So again, my goal is always to give whoever's calling me new information, not just the information that they can get from Googling or going on our website.
And you kind of hinted at this a little bit with picking up Pauline's book and talking about kind of your alignment as a professional. But let's talk a little bit about what is known as the paradigm shift that professionals have to make, and why is that so important to consumers. You know, Typically, what we have known as a society is divorce is a battle. It's one side versus the other with a judge, and even the lawyers. The lawyers will build their own team to kind of go against the other side, and that's just traditionally, again, I say, how it's been perceived and how it has gone, at least according to how the public might view the divorce process. But in this change in how we want people to, use the collaborative process and use out of court processes, can you talk about the shift in the mindset of professionals and how they have to approach their clients, and how maybe, again, a potential client might see that coming from their profession, whether it's maybe they can feel more empathy or whatever it might be in terms of the paradigm shift that the professional has to make in order to properly serve, a client? How can a client kind of pick up on that?
So the paradigm shift, that's the crux of it. It really is. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, in order to be a collaborative professional and be accredited, one of the requirements is you have to be trained as a mediator. Whether or not you decide to practice mediation and be the mediator, that's something that you can always do. But I think being that 5-day training as a mediator, and I've mediated for years. I mediated before I knew about collaborative. So I've mediated for for years, but that helped me make the paradigm shift, because as a mediator, I'd go in one room, or I'd speak to one of the spouses who would tell me the story with facts. And then I'd speak to the other spouse who would tell me the same story. I mean, that has some, we got married on such and such date. We have 3 kids. We own this house. But it was always interesting to me how there's certain facts, black and white facts, but how the story of the communication and the marriage and the divorce and the dynamics were so different in each room. It was like, it was hard to believe that they were married, because it's 2 different stories. It has some of the same facts, again, date of marriage, number of kids, our address, those black and white, but the stories and the issues and the concerns and the blaming were completely different in each room. But as a mediator, hearing the 2 different stories, I was able to connect the dots and come up with some options to help them resolve it. And that training really helped in the collaborative process, because I wasn't, just in the collaborative process, even though I have a client and I'm advocating for them, I also have that mediation training experience. So I can guess or anticipate what the other spouse is thinking and what their concerns are. So just because my client says something, it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And I know there's a different perspective with their spouse. So that is a paradigm shift unto itself, because I know there's at least 2 sides. And then me, whether I'm the attorney, the mediator, whatever, I can see the 2 different sides. Plus, I have my own perspective and my own background. So I have a perspective of what's going on. So then now we have 3 perspectives, right? So then in the collaborative process with a team approach, when you have a mental health facilitator, you have 2 attorneys that are trained in collaborative, and you have a financial neutral who's trained in collaborative, and we're all trained as mediators. Hopefully, all of those professionals, just a basic team of 4 professionals who know the law, if they're an attorney, know, how to facilitate as a neutral mental health person or financial. That team is a paradigm shift, because we're working as a team and we're listening and gathering all the data and information from both spouses, and we're putting our thinking caps on as to how to help them. So it really is important to have that paradigm shift, in that it's how can we help this couple financially and emotionally uncouple? So just to have a litigation perspective as to, oh, we could use this as evidence, or we could use this as an exhibit, and I can get you that, as that's the perspective in court, trying to win and not revealing information to the other side, and and gathering all the data information in order to show to the judge so the judge can make a decision. That is so anti-family. So what I love about collaborative is it's pro-family. Whether you have children or you don't have children, this couple, and even in a paternity matter, these 2 people were together as a team. And now we have a bigger team in collaborative to help untangle them, but to do it in a way that doesn't make the situation worse. So that paradigm shift is really important, because what the paradigm shift is to look at the situation in full, the whole scenario, both sides, every side, and to think of even a side that they haven't thought of, and to figure out how can we help them, not hurt the other side and win, but how can we help them in this situation? How can we help them come up with a parenting plan that works for their you know, schedule, their work schedule, their finances, their you know, that addresses their concerns with their children? How can we address all the financial issues, you know, dividing up the assets, the liabilities, the support issues? You know, how can we address these issues? Not how can we win and get the most for our client? Getting the most money and the most time with the children is not a win. That then it does damage. You have to do what works for that family and that situation. And it's not a win-lose. It's not like, you know, the movies War of the Roses or any of those things that people are familiar with on TV and movies. It's about, it is a paradigm shift. What works for this family in this situation?
That's fantastic, and I truly agree that it's, you know, every situation that is different. I'm not a lawyer, you know, but I've been trained collaboratively many times. I work with a lot of collaborative professionals, and you know, I can definitely see just a overall mindset difference in those that practice collaboratively. You know, a lot of them like to refer to themselves as they're peacemakers. You know, they're not necessarily just lawyers. They're here to bring peace to, you know, your situation and difficult times. They don't want to, you know, a lot of professionals that I speak with as well, they're happy to practice collaboratively because it brings them a better work-life balance. They're less stressed out. They are, you know, not worrying about having to go to court today and then on a different case going to court tomorrow and then a different case the next day. It's, you know, it's a really focused process. And when you pick the right professional, you really can build a a true bond with them because they're listening to what it is that you need, and not just seeing you for, you know, hours on a spreadsheet where you're getting paid to do work. So we are coming to our end of our time here. You know how that goes. Do you have any final messages or final word?
Choose collaborative. I mean, learn about it, gather data, gather information. I believe in the collaborative process. It really works. It's not just, I've talked a lot about a team effort, but there's other parts that are very different from a traditional litigation approach and how the process breaks it down into parts. So learn about collaborative, talk to all the different collaborative professionals that you can find on our website, collaborativepracticeflorida.com. And that's a start. And I'm sorry if anyone's going through a divorce or a separation or whatever their legal issues are, but really the collaborative process is the best way to address family matters.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Catherine.